So today we're going to talk about the Norse myths. Now, these are the stories, the ancestries, the histories, the great epics of northern Germany, northern France in the old days, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, all the Scandinavian countries. These are the Viking myths, unlike the Greeks and the Romans to the south and the Egyptians further beyond them, and the Asian countries to the far east. These myths were the ones born of the cold and frozen north that was so dangerous and deadly to those who lived there. Like the world in which they were built, like any world any myth is built, they reflected the culture and the climate in which they were developed. So while the Norse gods lived in furs and lived in cold, dark wooden huts, and the Egyptian gods lived out in the open on the sands in massive temples. And while the Greek gods became more and more civilized as Greece itself became more civilized, every myth is based upon the ideals and the culture and the experiences of the people who created them. Remember, a myth has two parts. A myth has two identifiers. The first is that it is created. This is a story that is built over generations of oral tradition, and its purpose, its second identifier, is to explain something that has not yet been explained. So just like Zeus in the Greek myths explains thunder and lightning, just like Osiris and Anubis explain what happens with death in Egypt, just like Venus explains beauty and the competition between men and women in Rome, these myths explain the worldview and the history of the universe so far as the Norse believed. Today we're starting off at the very beginning of everything, the beginning of time, before time itself even existed according to these people, and the idea of where our world came from. Today's story involves creation, the development of original and beautiful life. And the first thing you have to talk about is being created are two worlds. Two worlds that are flat, are basin-shaped, and have upon them only one living being. See, the northern world, Niflheim, Niflheim, Niflheim is the fog home. Heim is the root for home. Nifl is fog or mist. And the fog home lives to the north. This is the frozen wasteland that is created in the middle of primordial time and explains the history of why we have cold to the north. This land is uninhabited. It's uninhabitable to many people. In the center of Niflheim is a well. Now, in these myths, in these stories, a well does not mean what we think of with buckets going down in or a drilled well in your backyard. This is simply a body of sustainable water. So a well can be a lake. A well can be a stream that maintains itself. A well can be a pond. It's a body of sustainable water. And so the well in the middle of Niflheim, in the middle of the fog country, is a large lake. And Vergelmir, the well, has coming from it 10 flowing streams. These streams are poisonous, they are deadly to the touch, and in them live a collection, a family of poisonous snakes. And these snakes thrive and live in this well and in these streams, and so anyone who tries to drink this water will be poisoned and die. To the south, however, is the warmer lands, is the heated, fiery, volcanic, eruptive land of Muspel. Muspel or Muspelheim, Heim again meaning home, Muspel meaning world ending. So the world ending home is the home of the one living being that they talk about at the beginning of time. And this first being's name is Surt. S-U-R-T, rhymes with dirt. Surt is a fire giant, the first fire giant, the greatest fire giant, the immortal fire giant who stands at the edge of his world and whose one purpose in life is to guard and defend his little slice of the universe. Surt is powerful. Surt is deadly. Surt has a massive huge honking sword made out of fire that he uses to kill anyone who comes near his kingdom. Up to this point, no one's come by because he's all alone in the universe, but he's confident one of these days somebody's going to show up and try to take it over. One problem with this plan, of course, Muspel itself is impassable to anyone who's not born there. Muspel is an endless sea of lava and volcanic rock and flowing magma and rivers of molten diamond and jewels that just run like water. If you touch Muspel, if you step foot on it, if you come too close to it, your body disintegrates from the sheer heat. You turn to ash and dust and are wasted away into the wind. Sparks fly from Muspel into the air, and these sparks catch anything on fire that they touch. Muspel is a terrible place. You don't want to go there for vacation, it's a bad idea. But Surt lives in Muspel to the south. And to the north, in Niflheim, lives no one. The poison snakes swirl and eddy in the streams and in the well, and life does not exist. Off the edge of Niflheim is the waterfall, where all of these streams coalesce and fall and mist away into space. And it falls past Muspel, and from this we have some boiling up. The heat from Muspel is so intense that part of this waterfall evaporates and turns to steam and swirls back up toward the edge of the frozen kingdom. And it sticks. And it forms a rime, a frost, along the edge of Niflheim. And from this frost, mixed with the fiery sparks of Muspel and the coagulated goo that is this grimy, frosty steam that cools back down upon touch with the frozen kingdom, life is created. A new life, an original life, a life that Surt, looking across the yawning gulf that stands between their two kingdoms, Surt sees this and says, at last, I have an enemy. Because what is born from this mass of teeming life and spark and frost is the first frost giant, the first other source of life in this known universe, the giant Ymir. Now Ymir, spelled Y-M-I-R, Ymir is the first frost giant. He is monstrous. He's nearly the size of a world. He is powerful. Ice water runs through his veins, and his heart contains the spark of life that is a burning shard from Muspel. But he's cold. His thoughts are cold, his mind is cold. And what's worse, he is born hungry. He is born desiring to consume, desiring to control, desiring any successful solution to his problem of being all alone in a frozen waste where the only water is poison and the only source of food is the poisonous snakes that inhabit that water. He cannot solve this problem. Surt looks across the gap and he sees Ymir wandering Niflheim in pain, in anger, in growing hunger, in growing despair. And Surt says to himself, this giant will cause trouble. This giant is dangerous. This giant has a problem that must be contained. Surt begins to think of how he could possibly kill this man he's never met, who he cannot even reach. There is no path between these two worlds. But he thinks of this man as an enemy. He's different. Unlike Surt, who glows red with the fire of his homeworld, Ymir is blue. His blood, frozen liquid water, is blue. And the different skin color, the different blood color, indicates to Ymir and to Surt that the other side cannot be trusted. Now, Ymir wanders his world. Ymir is hungry. For hundreds of years, Ymir travels around this dead, frozen, vast plain, really. Some mountains near and far, but nothing really growing. There are some old dead trees from some long forgotten time, but nothing to eat. Until one day, Ymir, walking along, talking to himself, muttering, despondent, angry, hungry, Ymir hears a noise. A soft, low, distant "Arr!" in Ymir's Ears perk up, and he looks around, and he says to himself, that sounds like food. It sounds like something. It must be food. It has to be food. It has to be something that I can eat at long last. I need to be fed. I need to live. And he runs for it. And he gets closer. It's even noisier. He hears an even louder one. And he gets there, and he finds a cow. A cow. Unexplainable, inexplicable, unpredictable, totally not understandable, but doesn't matter. There's a cow, and Ymir thinks to himself, I'm having steak for breakfast. Yes, I am. I'm having steak for breakfast, and it's going to be delicious. Now, the cow was just created out of this frosty, roundy edge of the world again. And the cow doesn't have a clue. The cow is clueless. The cow's name is Authumla, A-U-T-H-U-M-L-A. Authumla the cow. She's sweet, she's nice, she's innocent, she's naive. And the first thing she sees is this giant blue beastie-looking fellow running out of this look of consuming desire in his eyes. And Authumla the cow freaks a little bit. And Ymir gets to her and says, cow, I'm going to eat you. And Authumla says, oh, please don't. Oh, please don't. I'm nice. My name's Authumla, by the way. Nice to meet you. He says, my name's Ymir. I'm sure you're very nice, but you also look very delicious, and I need food. It's been thousands of years now. It feels like, at least, I have not eaten all this time. You look delicious. And Ymir pauses. He thinks to himself, well, steak is good and all, at least I think it is, but I have no fire. I have means of cooking this cow, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I'll eat it raw. I want food. And again, he apologizes and says, not for the cow, but I'm going to kill you now. I'm going to eat you. That'll be it. And Authumla says, wait, no. Hold this thought. She sits down. And Authumla says, listen, Ymir you said, right? Yeah, Ymir. If you eat me now, if you eat me right now, you'll be satisfied. You'll be full. You will have eased your hunger temporarily. But what about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about the day following that? There are no more cows here. You cannot guarantee more will be created. You will be alone again. You will be hungry again. And your life will be miserable all over. And Ymir doesn't know what to say. He hadn't thought of it that way. All he considered was the burning, immediate hunger in his heart, in his stomach, in his gut. And Ymir says, what am I going to do, though? I need something. I don't want to starve to death. I haven't yet, but I'm sure it's coming soon. What do I do? And Authumla says, look, I've noticed since I got here that this ground is all very salty from all this evaporated mist. Tell you what, I can live off salt. I can lick salt and live off that. And I'm a cow, right? And Ymir says, sure, call yourself whatever you want. Authumla says, I produce milk. I produce a rich source of life and nutrition that could be constantly regenerated for you, as long as you don't kill me. And Ymir says, no, not a bad point. Tell you what, we'll have a deal. And Ymir and Authumla reach an accord, and they agree that Authumla will live provided she offers Ymir all the milk he can drink. They shake on it, hand to hoof, and become fast friends over time. Authumla provides milk. Ymir provides protection from whatever else is going to show up later on in life. They wander, they talk, they have companionship. Both are satisfied, both are happy. Authumla is glad to be alive. And their lives are better. They have a friend now. Each of them successfully has found a solution to their problems that solve both of their concerns without compromising either side. And over in Muspel, Surt looks across the yawning gulf and says, now there are two of them. Now I am outnumbered. Now I need to solve this problem immediately. For long, there'll be millions of them. And they'll invade my land, and they'll kill me, and that cannot be done. So I need to solve this problem somehow. How do I accomplish this? And Surt says, well, tell you what. One thing I could do is create. Obviously, this cow came from nothing. It came from a mist. It came from a rime, a frost. It came from nothing. I can create too. And Surt takes the stones, the fiery molten stones of his homeworld, and he fashions for himself a being, a creature, a girlfriend as a matter of fact. And he gives to her liquid diamond for blood just like his, and a spark of life from the planet, and breathes into her that life as well. And now, Surt says, I have a companion of my own. The odds are now evened again. There are two of them, and two of us. And what's better, mine's a girlfriend, not a cow, which is awesome. So he feels superior again. Life is settled. Surt is as happy as he will be. He still guards the edge of his world. After all, now he has an enemy, someone to hate across the way with a different skin color and a different way of living. And over at Niflheim, life is pretty good too. There's one complication over at Niflheim now. You see, the water is all poisonous. You cannot drink the water. It's poisonous, the snakes are in it, they'll bite you if you try to get close. So, all of these hundreds or thousands of years, Ymir has not bathed. Now, he hasn't. He has not showered, he has not washed behind his ears, he has not scrubbed his toes, he has not cleaned his pits. Ymir has not bathed. And he reeks. He reeks. He stinks of gross, sweaty, leftover, crusty self. Athumla, of course, not wanting to be rude or dinner, never mentions this to him. All she does is try to stand upwind instead of downwind when they walk together. And Athumla and Ymir live this life, but Ymir really smells. And like I said, he's kind of crusty. Crusty and gross. And especially around the feet and under the pits. And one day, Ymir is walking along by himself, Athumla's off, finds some salt to eat, and Ymir scratches under his left pit. Kind of itchy. He notices there's a lump down there, a gross sort of protuberance. And he pokes at it, and it kind of oozes out some, pus-filled. He thinks to himself, this is new. Kind of nasty looking, to be honest, but this is new. But I can't wash it. I can't clean it. The water's all poison. So he forgets about it. A few days later, just as itchy, he scratches again. It's oozing more. This is bad. This is gross. But, as I said, he can't clean it. A couple days later, massive pains under his arm. And the pus is just oozing freely from it now. And Ymir is so disgusted, he tries to squeeze and remove, and it just pops like a zit. Oozing all over the place. Nasty. That night, Ymir sleeps, as he does most nights, curled up under one of the dead trees. And from that oozing, pus-filled, crusty hole beneath his left armpit comes forth a man and a woman. A boy and a girl, rather. His first children. Ymir has just had kids. He's given birth via armpit, via pustule, armpit, crusty nastiness, to a son and a daughter. Ymir wakes up in the morning and he is frankly rather surprised. This doesn't really happen to him, you know. He's new to this whole parenthood thing. It's kind of freaky. And there's this son of his sitting down under the tree and the daughter over the other place too. Athum was already feeding them and he's like, okay, so there's more of us now? Son says, yes, there is. Hi, I'm your son. Daughter says, hi, I'm your daughter. Athumla says, look, we have kids. It's great. We're a family now. Ymir's like, whatever. Whatever. Weird. Whatever. A few days later, from between his toes, comes another one. Another son. And this one is bigger than the other two. And by this point, Ymir's kind of freaked out, but hey, whatever, doesn't matter to him. He's living a good life. Athumla provides for all of them. They wander around, have great conversations. They throw rocks at each other for fun. Competitions of strength, running, speed, whatever. They can't go swimming, remember? The water's all poisonous. But they can live their lives. And they have a decent little family. And eventually, nature takes its course. More of them are produced. And back over in Muspel, Surt looks across the yawning gulf again and he says, no, this is not right, this is not done. Now there are even more of them. Just as I feared, they are breeding. They are producing An army, I'm certain it's going to be an army, they must be stopped. Or since I cannot get there right now, they must be matched with equal strength. So Surt begins creating, building golems. Spiritless beings made out of the earth and fire of his world, fire giants to be his own personal army. Surt creates these giants out of, again, the living rock, gives them diamond, liquid for blood, gives them a spark of life, and tells them that they are now his and he is their god. He created them. Not only is he their father, but he controls them all. And for each new giant who is born in Niflheim, Surt creates one of his own. So in his mind, if a war ever comes, they have mutually assured destruction so that neither side will win. And perhaps, just maybe with their fire, their strength, his army will take the upper hand and succeed. Back over in Niflheim, life moves on. The giant race is growing. Althuma the cow is now providing food for a good, healthy family of several dozen. She's worn out a lot. This is a lot of milk to produce, so she has to eat a lot more salt than she's used to. So she spends most of her time out wandering around the fields and the dead woods of Niflheim, trying to find better and better salt licks, which are fewer and fewer far between. She comes across a particularly good patch, a delicious patch. And she's just going to town on the salt, just licking it away. It's fantastic, it's delicious, it's so very salty. She's looking away and she goes, ugh, there's a hair in my food. Never happened before. She never got hair in her food before. She moves over a little bit. Keeps going at it, ugh, another hair in my food. Moves over again. Goes some more, finds a whole lock of hair, a whole chunk of it right there on the ground. And now she's a little curious. So she carefully looks around the edges. And she finds an entire face, an entire head, buried in the salt. By the end of the day, she's exposed the entire body of a person, buried within the ground of Niflheim. Possibly the remainder of a former race, the remainder of a former civilization on this world, but it doesn't matter to her. All that matters is that now she has what she sees as her own son, a child of her own. He wakes, he rises, he embraces the cow for freeing him. She calls him Buri, B-U-R-I, because he was buried in the ground, the world's first pun. Buri is Athuma's first and best real friend. The first person to not want anything from her. The first person to not be demanding and threatening her life. Buri is a pretty good guy. But, as is always the case in life, people have needs, desires, interests. Eventually, Buri finds himself a girlfriend, one of the least repulsive looking giants, because let's face it, they're all kind of inbred a little bit at this point, so mutations happen. But he finds one that's less gross than the others. They produce a son. And the son's name is Bor, B-O-R. And Bor is funny. Bor is a great guy, he's engaging, he's ridiculous. He is the catch of the town because his father, Buri, was tall and handsome and beautiful, and so is Bor. Unlike the frost giants, he is pale of skin. He is blonde of hair. He is perfectly featured. And like I said, he has a good personality. He's funny. He's nice. He's easy to talk to. And Bor falls in love with a giantess named Bestla. Her father's name is Bolthorn. Bolthorn doesn't really approve of this thing because he figures Bor is just a womanizing cur. But Bestla and Bor fall in love, and they have 3 sons. Oldest, middle, youngest. And Bestla and Bor's 3 children are named Odin, Vili, and Ve. Odin is a fiery lad. His name means fury, passion, strength, craziness sometimes in some ways. Odin is fiery. Vili, his name means will. And this is stubbornness, determination, the effort put in to see something succeed. Vili is the guy you want along to help encourage the group to keep going when all else seems lost. And Ve, the youngest son, Ve is wisdom. Ve is the thoughtful one, the intelligent one, the one that says, now guys, before you go do that crazy stunt, you should really consider. You should really think about the consequences here. And Odin and Vili are like, oh, whatever, you're just a pansy, Ve. What do you know? Join our fun. And Ve usually goes along with their fun because he'd rather be with his brothers, keeping an eye on them, than risk having them be hurt by their own stupid pranks. Because they are pranksters. These three boys run all over Niflheim, causing trouble, poking fun of the giants, creating traps and messes and jokes, having a grand time. Odin is the worst. He's mouthy, he is impetuous, he's stubborn and rude. Vili is more stubborn than his brother even is, but Vili is consistent about it. And Ve, as I said, is the good, thoughtful, wise one who considers all possible outcomes in a situation. So they spend all their time harassing the giants, their friends, their family, and seeing as best they can how to make their lives more fun and more interesting on this frozen rock that is their home. So in Muspel, Surt, his girlfriend, now his wife, and their army of giants grows daily. And in Niflheim, frost giants continue to breed, and Odin, Vili, and Ve are the first three proto-gods to come from the marriage of Thor and Vestla.